Sea of Thieves was at one point one of the most popular cross-play pirate games. However, due to the lack of updates upon release, the game started to go somewhat stagnant. But is it dead in 2023? Well, I'm going to be going through each aspect of Sea of Thieves and seeing if it really is dying. Before we can work out if Sea of Thieves is really dying, then I think we should first work out what dying means. The term dying means different things to different people. It also changes depending on the game's overall player base. To say a game is dying is a completely subjective term. Some people could say that a dead game is one with no new players, or some people could say that a dead game is one that no longer receives frequent updates. So let's break some things down and let you decide for yourself. The player base of Sea of Thieves can be split into a few different sections. Some of the player base will play Sea of Thieves no matter what state the game is in. These are the die-hard fans that love anything and everything that the devs do. These people are pretty vital to keeping games relevant, as when other people may get bored of Sea of Thieves and need to take a break, these people will play no matter what. The next section is the majority of the player base. These players play Sea of Thieves to enjoy the game and they expect frequent updates. These people are the ones that get disappointed when things like updates are delayed, but not disappointed enough to quit the game completely. These players need frequent updates to keep them intrigued, or they'll get bored a few weeks into a new season. I think that overall, Sea of Thieves has a pretty dedicated and strong community that isn't willing to just dump the game. The community continues to give the developers countless opportunities for improvements, as well as many good suggestions for updates, but sometimes it feels like the developers of Sea of Thieves are taking these opportunities for granted and are giving us some pretty dull updates that get stagnant after a period of time. Next, let's talk about the passion of the developers, as the community is something that is partially out of the developers' control, but the actual passion and commitment for the development team is something that they can very much control. I think that the developers do love Sea of Thieves, but I don't think they care about it at the same time. And you may think that makes no sense, but let me explain. At the start of 2022, Sea of Thieves released a roadmap, giving us hints of what we're to expect in the coming year. Looking at that roadmap, we can see that 5 out of the 6 things that we're supposed to be getting each update are just reused and recycled. Sure, we get a community day every season, we get a new plunder pass, we get monthly Emporium content and a new mystery every season, as well as free adventures every season, so for months of development, we get one new proper addition to the game. By the way, if you already don't know, there are seasons and they typically last around 3 months. So 3 months for one quality change in the game is a pretty long time to wait. Season 6 was alright, but it was extremely dragged on as the release of Season 7 was pushed back countless times. Then after the first week of Season 7, personally I felt myself getting bored as we didn't really get much. And yeah, now we're at Season 8 and these new war maps are cool, but only if you can be bothered sitting in queue for 30 minutes. What I'm seeing is not a lot of change. I mean, if we compare Season 6 to Season 8, the only things that have changed are being able to rename our ship and the new war maps. 6 months for 2 decent or average changes. I mean, we still have so many silly bugs like the one where you can't retrieve the supplies that you purchased from the merchant lady at the dock. So many silly things that should be fixed that just aren't improving. I mean, that bug's been in the game for like almost a year now. But what are the core issues? Well, updating the game with more and more content is good. We love that. Who doesn't like new content and things for us to do? But the game is only as good as the servers that it runs on. And this is the issue that the rare devs just seem to be running away from. The bottom line is that the server performance absolutely sucks. Sea of Thieves servers are ran off of Microsoft Azure servers, and correct me if I'm wrong, but these servers aren't even made for gaming. This is a core issue that Rare is yet to address. Poor server performance means having a poor gaming experience altogether. Poor servers also mean that the core gameplay mechanics suffer as well, and this is what causes one of the biggest problems that players have to deal with in Sea of Thieves, and that is hit registration issues. Hit registration issues are when you shoot a target and you get a hit marker and nothing happens. In the player's mind, they just hit someone as they got a hit marker for it, but no damage is inflicted on the other player. This is something that completely ruins the player versus player aspect of Sea of Thieves, as there's nothing worse than being confused during an intense encounter as to why you've just hit your target 3 or 4 times and being absolutely baffled as to how they're still alive. Not only do the poor servers cause issues like this, but they also cause extremely high ping for all players, with the lowest ping I've ever seen being around 30 to 40. Personally, my average ping is around 70 to 80. So next to failing projectile based weapon system that the devs don't care about, with a laggy server where you're teleporting around and stuttering, and try and verse another player, and I'm sure you can see where the frustration begins. A lot of the core player base that this game has been able to keep are players that aren't really interested in versing other players, because a lot of the players that do enjoy versing other players get frustrated and demotivated, and this frustration and demotivation just grows with every fight they encounter. But does this mean that Sea of Thieves is dying? Well, first let's look at the Google Trends graph of some other games that were also pretty popular on release and compare these statistics to Sea of Thieves. Starting off with Fortnite, as we can see there is an extremely big peak at the original hype and release of the game, and yes, although the spike did seem to slowly go down, it wasn't an insane drop. It was quite a slow decline. This is because when Fortnite was released, the developers actually put effort into quality updates that the community wanted. Now let's look at the Google Trends graph of Sea of Thieves. As we can see, similar to Fortnite, an insanely big spike, but unlike Fortnite, our spike drops insanely fast, almost just as quick as it came up. That's because around the initial release of Sea of Thieves, there really wasn't that much you could do in terms of world events and progression, and the devs kept it that way for a very long time. Up until the anniversary update of Sea of Thieves, every update that we would receive would be completely random with no schedule, so we really had nothing to look forward to. to. Back around this time, where Sea of Thieves peaked, we also had some of the biggest content creators making YouTube videos on Sea of Thieves. I mean, some of the biggest videos about Sea of Thieves were over 4 years ago from creators like Jelly, Markiplier, Dan TDM, Jacksepticeye, and so many more just on YouTube. Around the same time all of this was going on over on YouTube, Twitch was also popping off, reaching 265,000 peak live viewers on the Sea of Thieves category alone. Comparing the peak Sea of Thieves and the numbers they were pulling to the current numbers are just sad, really. I mean, at the moment, Sea of Thieves is sitting on 7.2k viewers on Twitch, and it seems that a lot of the biggest Sea of Thieves creators are getting bored. Sure, we will have the consistent ones over on Twitch that continue to stream daily, but a lot of that is because their dedicated community as well as their fan base is what keeps them motivated. It's been sad to see some of the best ever content creators coming to Sea of Thieves and showing this game to thousands and thousands of new people, and ending up with the content creators themselves getting bored. What the Sea of Thieves devs don't seem to get is that for the game to grow, they actually need it to be enjoyable to play, so new players try the game and enjoy the game enough to stick around. What they also don't get is that so they don't slowly die out, they need to maintain the already forgiving player base that they already have. I mean, no one wants to be lied about the core issues of the game. No one wants updates being pushed back for 6 or 7 weeks just for the update to be the ability to rename and decorate your ship. These are things that should be pretty simple and I shouldn't have to mention, but if they were that obvious of issues, then we wouldn't be having them. Now, I do think that I'm definitely one of those people that absolutely love this game, but I'm also one of the people that are disappointed in the development team for not really caring. I don't want to sound like I'm being hard on Sea of Thieves, but I'm just not seeing any improvements with the core issues. I mean, the problem of hit registration issues would most likely be insanely reduced if we just had some better servers, but instead the development team want us to switch over to hit scan weapons, which would kill the game in my opinion. I feel like I'm having the same feeling towards the end of every season, the feeling of boredom where I start looking for a new game to play, and it really does suck. I definitely don't think that Sea of Thieves is a lost cause. I think there are so many more changes Sea of Thieves could make to improve the game and to make it more enjoyable. These new adventures and things aren't updates that are going to grow Sea of Thieves at all. In fact, in my opinion, they are just a distraction for the current player base so they don't get bored. Personally, I'm sick of being lied to with patch notes after patch notes saying that the hit registration issues have been improved. The only way it's going to be improved is if the devs actually make some quality changes. If someone at Rare is watching, then please listen to me when I say I love the game, and if you want to know 10 updates that I think should be added to Sea of Thieves, then watch this video.